Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. The crypto market is in a sea of green today, and XRP chart analysts believe that it's about to get wild. Look at this, XRP sitting at $2.20, Bitcoin at $99,290. And by the way, Bitcoin this morning almost hit 100,000 again. $99,889 is the high as of the time that I'm recording this. And by the way, in case you're curious, I'll just note it is 8:09 a.m. Central Time, which is my time zone, Thursday, May 8th, 2025. XRP got as high as $2.22, but the best is yet ahead. And what I keep seeing is excitement from chart analysts that I follow because there's so much confluence. Everything is coming together, doing what you would expect it to do. Based on, well, a couple things. First of all, historic precedent, because history tends to rhyme with itself. But then secondly, talk to chart analysts. They will say that they've been seeing in the charts that what is unfolding now was the most probable thing. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. Part of what is making markets feel all hot and bothered would be this headline. This is from The Guardian. Trump confirms full and comprehensive trade deal with UK. And look, I've been insisting this for over a month at this point. The tariff thing, it's just something that's scaring people, just like COVID scared people, caused the market to drop. It's not going to last forever. Eventually it goes away. Whether the process would be not that messy or pretty messy, eventually, let enough time pass, it goes away, markets resume, everything's fine. That's how this works. But in the short term, people panic and they financially wreck themselves. So, of course, this is coming, and this, I believe, is most likely to be the first of many deals. And I think the big one will be an announcement, finally, of straightening stuff out with China, specifically some sort of trade arrangement there. And we got news the other day from Scott Bessent that there actually is going to be a meeting. Actually, I guess maybe at least two then. He said Saturday and Sunday they're going to be meeting with China, I think in Switzerland anyway. So it's happening. It's moving forward. Something's going to happen. It's just there's a lot of tough posturing, this and that, tough words, and it's going to get straightened out, and then life's going to go on, and kumbaya, so on and so forth. And so here is a post from President Trump on Truth Social. The arrangement with the United Kingdom is a full and comprehensive one that will cement the relationship between the United States and the United Kingdom for many years to come. Because of our longtime history and allegiance together, it is a great honor to have the United Kingdom as our first announcement. Folks, this is like the most obvious call that you possibly could have made, which is why I made it. Like, I don't feel like I'm some sort of wizard here. Like, of course this is going to get worked out. And so we knew this was coming. Here's a post that was shared by Crypto Insight UK. He simply wrote, nice. That's another post from Trump announcing that indeed this was the case. And the announcement is coming at 10 a.m. this morning. So that would be 9 a.m. Central, which is my time zone. So less than an hour from now. So by the time this has happened, we'll see how the markets respond. Or it's a crap deal and everything falls apart and the market freaks out. But I'd kind of be surprised by that. But I think you're just going to keep getting more and more good news. And this is just a year from now, people aren't going to be thinking about this at all. I mean, not that you even have to wait a year necessarily, but it goes away. And markets, my God, everything is so perfectly positioned. Here's a post from Anthony Pompliano. He said, trade deal incoming tomorrow. That'd be today now because he posted this last night. Trade deal incoming tomorrow means odds are increasing we hit new all-time highs in 2025. Yeah, it's only going to help, obviously. And so the news that there was, it was a rumor at the point, but the news that something was going to be coming today came out last night, and it did leak that it was going to be some sort of deal with the UK. Now that's confirmed by President Trump. And check this out. This is from Cointelegraph. Just about a half hour ago, 7:41 a.m. Central. They were just in. Bitcoin futures on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, CME, are already trading above $100,000. Spot platforms are expected to catch up and close the spread soon. Now, isn't it interesting? Because if you've been following some of the stuff I've been highlighting in recent days, there have been a number of analysts I follow that have been saying, actually, in the relatively short term, we could see breaking that $100,000 level for Bitcoin for the first time in a while, actually, and then a notable level of resistance, depending on who you ask, but roughly around $104,000. So we'll see what happens. ask a different chart analyst, get a different perspective in terms of what's most probable in the short term. I mean, you can find analysts that think they're just going to rip from here. I'm not seeing enough analysts, agreeing that's the most probable thing here for me to think, yeah, we're just going to keep going from here. Technically possible, but it might be more likely that, there could be a little bit more movement to the upside, a little consolidation. But even if that's the case, my God, we got to talk about altcoins too. We'll get to it. But yes, they're playing catch up today after being devastated for a long period of time. Then we also have this talk about confluence. So we've got the macro narrative of the tariff stuff that's going to be going away. What's happening? Global liquidity just happens to be increasing at the same time. Here's a post from chart analyst Jelly. It says global liquidity leads, Bitcoin follows, right on track so far. And yes, that is correct. You can track global M2 liquidity going back over a decade, and the strong majority of the time, Bitcoin indeed does just lag behind that. There is a very strong correlation if you account for that lead time. Right on track so far. So what do you think is most probable with all of this perfectly coming together? Will number go up? XRP is not done. This is why I'm excited about XRP. I mean, yeah, I care about my entire crypto portfolio, but XRP is, I actually haven't checked in a while. Last time I checked, it was actually probably a few months ago. At that point, XRP was like half my portfolio, so maybe it's still somewhere around there. It's just not something I regularly check, but it's a substantial amount. So I most care about XRP, but the whole thing's going to frickin' go. And I just think that XRP is going to continue to outperform. That's why I'm excited for this. And look at everything actually coming together. Here's a post from chart analyst Mustache. This is the market cap USDT dominance percentage. And USDT, of course, is the stablecoin Tether. And he's just noting here that if you look at this schematic for an ascending, broadening wedge in the world of charting, he believes that's what's playing out here for Tether, this Tether dominance percentage chart. And he believes that it's going to fall. And he wrote here, friendly reminder, the signs of an impending altcoin season are getting closer and closer. Folks, this is more confluence. As that falls, as you would expect, according to chart analyst Mustache, assuming this chart formation continues to play out, you know what happens, right? If there's going to be less Tether dominance, that's because it's going into altcoins and everything else. It's going into everything. Like, people get to choose where they put it. But rest of the market goes up, and the timing for this would absolutely make sense. So much confluence. You'll love to see it. Here's a post from Charting Guy this morning at 5:28 a.m. He said, cautiously bullish, looking for any and all signs of weakness, but not flipping bearish until anything is confirmed. This rally can easily make a new all-time high if it really wants to. Tons of FOMO out there. Okay, that fairly summarizes what I'm seeing from a lot of chart analysts. I mean, yeah, could rip from here, but there's not like a strong conviction from a ton of analysts on immediately what happens. Now, if you want to know, do they think that yes or no, will Bitcoin rip to the upside and alts follow? The answer is yes on that. That's still coming. The conviction on that is exceedingly high. It's only a question mark in the very short term as to what is most probable. Here's a post from chart analyst Crypto Michael, another analyst who accurately called XRP breaking out this cycle. He says Bitcoin won't be below $100,000 for much longer. By the way, he posted this last night, 6:22 p.m. yesterday. He said, I warned you the bull market wasn't over while everyone else was capitulating. Bears are about to realize how wrong they were. Well, not everyone was capitulating. I sure as hell not. I've been excited the whole time. I do not believe that this is done. When we see top indicators, from a historic perspective, this is what's happening when the market's actually peaking. I'm going to be talking about that on this channel. You don't want to have your head in the sand when that happens. Those things are not flashing right now. Those signals are not flashing. It's not happening right now. We aren't there yet. So either the market really does go to the upside and Bitcoin does finish and altcoins do follow and XRP does finally enter price discovery for the first time in over 7 years, or this time is actually different. What do you think is more probable? Is this time actually different and everything just falls apart? I don't think so. And then with the liquidity increase, and on top of that, you just got to ask yourself, if it's given that, like, that is happening, that's a real thing. What do people do with the funds? Like, if they're not putting it into risk-on assets, where's it going? Just tell me where you think it's going then. I think it's going into risk-on assets, a lot of it anyway. I mean, the stock market and crypto, of course. Mikey Bull Crypto posted this. Alt season index has broken out of the downtrend. Cheap level to position on good alts and offload at peak area. So you can see where we are down here. fluctuates back and forth. And that's the thing. Anytime it gets to the negative, that's when the sentiment's in the gutter, which is the point of maximum opportunity. It just flipped, folks. Gonna run way higher if history kind of rhymes with itself. Here's a post from chart analyst Rect Capital. This is the market cap Ethereum dominance percentage chart, and this is a fun one. Ethereum words are hard for Moon Lambo. Ethereum dominance, nailed it. Ethereum dominance is upticking after making new all-time lows. Well, in there, something. This reminds me of what I said consistently throughout 2024 as XRP was looking the worst it's looked against Bitcoin and against the entire crypto asset class, like basically in history. It was either there or very close. That caused people to say it was the end of the world. And I said, well, no, historically, when XRP gets to these levels, that's a point of maximum opportunity. And it was. I screamed that throughout all of 2024. It's in so many videos. And then as we got to this point with Ethereum, I was like, well, no, this isn't the end of the world. It's not like something fundamentally changed to the negative with Ethereum. And if people thought that the current fundamentals are good enough for it to run in recent years, then I'm not seeing something that would cause them to believe different. So fundamentally, like that would not be the reason that XRP or Ethereum price is lower. It's just that sometimes prices go low and markets sell off a bit too hard and then they correct, and that's what happens. And so it didn't make sense to think that this would be any different for Ethereum. And it has been jumping this morning, by the way. Ethereum, look at this. It's almost at $2,000. It is up over actually it's up almost 8% over the last 24 hours. So, of course, you go back the last 12 months, that's not like the most attractive chart, obviously. But markets find bottoms, as I always say. Markets always find bottoms here. And this is important if you're an XRP holder, because at least historically, when Ethereum starts running, that's when alts go. So that'll open the door for everything, including XRP, if history is to rhyme with itself. And dominance it's increasing right now. It's on the chart. Like, that's just a fact. It was never the end of the world, though. Here's a post from chart analyst Credible Crypto. He said, looks like the Ethereum tech has become good again, according to crypto Twitter. You never would have known that it was dead and a failure just a week ago. There you go. See, and this is why I keep saying, price in and of itself is not an indicator of whether or not a cryptocurrency is going to be worth more or less in the future. It's not an indicator in and of itself of whether or not a cryptocurrency will truly have long-term viability. It's just people emotionally buying and selling in the short term. That's what it is. Now, of course, it can be an indicator. Like if there's a hole in the code and somebody finds that, then or if there's a lawsuit against Ripple, like markets are going to respond fine. Although even then, it wasn't the end of the world permanently. Obviously, we saw it happen. But I'm just saying that price in and of itself, it doesn't matter. And so people thinking that it was because the fundamentals were worse or the tech was that didn't ever make any damn sense. It's the same thing that happened with XRP because people are people. They look at the price and they make a piss poor assumption, and it's wrong, that the price is indicative of the actual value, which is separate from price, of the asset that's being discussed. Couldn't be more obvious. Here's a post from Raoul Paul. He, of course, is the founder and CEO of Global Macro Investor and Real Vision here, former Goldman Sachs executive, and he does hold at least some XRP he's publicly shared. And here's what he said. He said, I think Bitcoin dominance topped today. Ooh, that's a big claim. That's from this morning, folks, 6:53 a.m. Central. He says, I think Bitcoin dominance topped today. There are daily, weekly, and monthly DMARC tops in place, and the top is well below 2021 top, and that was below the 2017 top. If that plays out, it is the hallmark of the next phase of the banana zone. Let's see. Okay, that is interesting because it was either 1 or 2 days ago. I highlighted a chart that was shared by, I can't remember which chart analyst, but it was showing Bitcoin dominance and how it had looked percentage-wise, where it peaked over the last couple cycles. And there is whoever it was pointing out that, if Bitcoin dominance gets to the same percentage, maybe it was like 70, 71%, that it peaked at last cycle, then we still got some room to go. And one of the things that I noted was that, okay, that could happen, but it doesn't mean it has to happen because there's way more competition in the space. And because there are other coins, you shouldn't expect that with each passing cycle, you're going to hit the same peak Bitcoin dominance percentage. And he's kind of highlighting that here because if you look at the last peak in 2021 for Bitcoin dominance, versus the 2017 peak, the one below that. As he points out here accurately, the 2021 peak was lower than the 2017 peak, which is why I said it would make sense to think that Bitcoin dominance wouldn't, if that trend follows, Bitcoin dominance wouldn't peak at 70 or 71%, whatever the peak was, and that it would peak lower. So he could be right. Maybe this is the point where Bitcoin dominance does peak. I'm not going to bet on that either way, because that's just not my shtick. That's not what I do. But it stands to reason that Bitcoin dominance certainly could peak lower, which means it's reasonable to suppose that this at least could be the moment where finally, even if we have to go through a little more consolidation, things are actually going to heat up and alts are ultimately going to take over. Perfectly reasonable perspective. Here's a post from chart analyst Dom. This is from last night. He said, finally, Bitcoin dominance gives alts a breath. And you can see even last night it was starting to head in that direction, which frankly, if you're me at least, you'll love to see, because even though I'm a Bitcoin holder, I'm way more interested in what happens with my alts. And I know that Bitcoin dominance tanking is a leading indicator that alts are about to go buck wild. That's why I'm interested in that. Here's a post from chart analyst Dom. Now, this was posted at 10:43 a.m. yesterday. So it's been, about 22, a little less than 22 hours. And here's what he had to say. And there's a reason I'm highlighting this. It's still relevant. He said, XRP higher time frame view. Still seeing incredible weakness over here from XRP. I attribute this to, number one, XRP is still holding its range from December. No other large cap is anywhere near that. So it's already been strong while others just bled. Now, folks, so that's why, just be clear, when he says incredible weakness over here from XRP as of less than 24 hours ago, XRP is still the number one performer out of the top 100 coins by market cap since the November election. So just because it's not showing strength, that doesn't mean that there are other coins that are performing better. No. In fact, XRP's done a great job, even against USD, just holding its ground for months effectively, despite some deviations to the downside as low as close to $1.60. But it's been doing that. If you look at other coins in the top 100, most of them, they're just, if you look at a chart against the USD, it's just tanking to the downside, just cratering. So the fact that XRP, even if from there, as he characterized it, not showing, or he said incredible weakness, it's still outperforming, right? And then he said, number two, Bitcoin dominance is on a terror run and Bitcoin is just dominating the flows. Folks, a lot can change in a day, can't it? Since he posted that Bitcoin dominance, as he later updated, it did move to the downside and alts did respond to that, including XRP. And the price of XRP did go up. And so he said, when I zoom out and look at the daily, the picture still seems constructive. A retest of the range low after regaining it the last 2 weeks isn't abnormal. That'd be $2. Says the VWAPs continue to play perfect. Local low was yearly VWAP. Rejection last week was off quarterly VWAP, and now we are heading to retest the monthly VWAP. I'm expecting a reaction off this range low. Losing that would be where things turn bearish/murky, but for now it's a healthy chart. And so even before the recent move, he still said it's healthy. Even if it's not, even if he characterized it as, weakness, it's still healthy. That's in the short term, in that moment. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong. And then there's also this. The blockchain backer shared his most recent video this morning, and I did check it out. And just lots of optimism. I encourage you to check out his video if you haven't seen it yet. Altcoins, it's very clear. He believes altcoins could perform in this moment. Maybe followed by some consolidation, but there's room to catch up, as he pointed out in his video. And look, his conviction is steadfast. XRP ultimately will have a massive breakout. He hasn't changed his perspective on that at all. It's just a question of, do we have to wait a little bit longer before things get hot? And so if you want all the technicals as to why he believes what he believes, go check out his video. It was a great video. I think it was like 12 or 13 minutes. But it's just pointing out, every single analyst I follow who accurately called that XRP was going to break out this cycle, they all believe the best is yet ahead. All of them. No exception. Here's a post from Crypto Insight UK. It's an XRP BTC chart. He says, this level for XRP BTC has acted as strong support recently. And so you can see this chart going back towards, I guess, later part of 2024. He says, see how when we visit these levels, we have seen a strong reaction to the upside. Right. Look at every time we got basically to this moment, that was a local bottom for XRP against Bitcoin. And then So that's where we're at right now. So that's kind of why he's highlighting this. And he shared this post at 4:01 a.m. And the price of XRP against the dollar you've seen actually has gone up. And then again, this is an XRP BTC chart. I'm just noting. I think if you let enough time pass, you're going to see another massive candle, XRP priced against Bitcoin before the cycle's over. I think history's going to rhyme with itself. That's the thing that typically happens. So if you're talking in terms of probability, as I am, yeah. I just don't think that I don't think that XRP consolidated for close to 7 years, only to barely hit a new all-time high, then fall below it, and then consolidate above $2. And then that's it, though. We'll see you in a few years. No, I just don't buy that. I think this mofo is going to rip to the upside before the cycle's over, finally entering price discovery. I mean, with the strength that it's been displaying, and the amount of smart money, the rich people, I've been making videos about this. The amount of money from the ultra rich flowing into XRP and institutional money flowing into XRP, even as it's just been consolidating in recent months. What they're wrong, the smart money's wrong. I don't think so. I just don't think so. I think it's going to rip. Here's a post from Crypto Insight UK. Another one here. He says, I don't hold Ethereum, but this is a snapshot taken from our newsletter 2 weeks ago. And what did he say here? He says, according to the liquidity chart, it looks like Ethereum is likely heading towards at least $4,400. There's significant short leverage on Ethereum at this level, and as we've seen historically, leveraged positions often get squeezed in the crypto market. This could drive ETH's price higher as those short positions get liquidated. Yeah, so another analyst here, obviously, who understands that markets find bottoms. That's in a nutshell like a great way to just summarize it. Markets find bottoms. Of course. I mean, unless it's something that doesn't deserve to exist and then fine, it goes to zero. But that's why I said throughout 2024, I said, folks, I don't know. I admit, I don't know if XRP is bottomed here, but markets find bottoms. So XRP, either this is the bottom or we're very close. From a historical perspective, that's what makes sense to believe. Same concept here with Ethereum. And so if you're talking about Ethereum, even getting back up just to $4,400, which is like $400 or $500 below its all-time high from last cycle, even just getting back to $4,400, do you understand that if XRP matches that, which I don't think is a tall order, that would still put XRP, if you're, in terms of market cap, that put XRP around like what, $9 or so, something like that, approaching $10. Even just that. That's why the people that are talking about XRP getting into double digits, I'm like, that ain't crazy talk, folks. It's like, that's not a tall order. I'm just saying, if you look at market cap of XRP matching Ethereum at that level, that would put XRP at about $9, maybe a little higher. Not a tall order. That's why the people that are talking about XRP going to $20, and look, I don't know if they're right. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it ain't crazy. Because even if Ethereum gets close to like $9,000 or $10,000, which would just be doubling, that'd be a 2x from its last all-time high. Well, if XRP matches that market cap, that'd be closer to $20 XRP. So we'll find out together what happens. I don't make predictions. I admit I don't know, but none of that's crazy. And of course, ETH was never going to be dead. Not this. Well, I don't mean literally never. I mean this cycle. Here's a post from Crypto Insight UK. This is from 3:36 a.m. Central. It says, Bitcoin eating into the liquidity around $100,000. We've been discussing the move to $104,000 on YouTube for a while now. I can see a short-term correction coming from there potentially. The exciting times will come when we break this range towards all-time high. I'm not saying this can't happen now. It absolutely can. But I am saying $104,000 is the most likely area for a correction/chop if we're going to get to it. Well, I could live with that. Either way, the best is yet ahead. Like it's coming, folks. Here's a post from chart analyst Zoom. It says XRP order book update. Strong sell walls to be found at $2.50. Once that zone is broken, a move to $2.85 to $2.90 should be fairly swift due to the lack of sell walls. Right, so as they say, thin air above. Things can happen quickly. And people got to a point late last year before the election where some people stopped believing that. But then the election happened and XRP rocketed, and then what was always true just became evident yet again. But people have just been beaten down, so it must be impossible because they feel things. No, it was never impossible. You just have to wait. Be patient, bitch. And it did, though. And then it went. And we are going to see more stuff like that in the future. And that's the great thing about having the investment approach that I have, which is so simple. It's the least sophisticated investment model that there is. It's you buy stuff and then you don't do anything. Like you just wait. You just wait. And that's the great thing about what I'm doing here is I don't have to know when. It's either I'm right or I'm wrong. And if I'm right, then at some unknown point in the future, price rockets. That's it. And so I think that if given enough time, I will just continue to be proven to be correct. I don't have to worry about the short-term stuff because I'm not a chart analyst. I'm not a trader. I don't get in and out of positions. I buy stuff, and that's that. If I'm wrong, I never sell it because it goes to zero. If I'm right, it'll be worth a fortune at some point, perhaps. Then I'm enticed to sell. That's it. And I believe it's going to rocket again. And when that happens, you better believe I'm going to be sitting here. I'm going to have that exposure. And I'm going to celebrate with you all up on the YouTubes on the Moon Lambo channel. Which, by the way, fun scientific fact, is the best channel on all of the YouTubes. Look, there's so much to look forward to, folks. Be excited. This is a time where it makes sense to be excited. Okay, so by the time you're watching this, I don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully the trade news is legit and good. I would expect that to be the case. Stuff like that is going to, in the short term, impact markets. But in the big picture, it's not going to matter. People are going to forget about all this stuff. Everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. So in the short term, hopefully it's higher by the time you're watching this. Even if not, just to be clear, it's not the end of the world. Just be more patient than every other human on the planet. Make that your goal, to be more patient than every other human on the planet, and then maybe you won't get wrecked. It's been working for me for over 7 years now. I buy stuff and I do nothing. And I find that as I hold longer than more and more people because more and more time pass and people sell before I sell, turns out the price goes up and then my net worth goes up. Duh. It's not exactly rocket science, folks, but it freaking works. It ain't a sexy sell to people, but it just works. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Lambo.